Welcome to the Athena 40 podcast, Conversations with Women from the MENA region. This series is in partnership with NOMA Women Advancement Establishment, a United Arab Emirates-based organization founded on the vision of an equitable world for women. In this series, we are hosting exceptional women from the Middle East and North Africa. They are thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and policymakers. And I am your host, Elizabeth Filippouli, founder of Athena 40, an international platform connecting women leaders. It is a real pleasure and an honor to welcome you, Haifa.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's my pleasure to be with you. I'm truly honored to be invited.
This is about the journey and, of course, the vision. But let me start with the journey first. How did everything start? I'd like to go back and visit the person's early years that shaped them, helped them become who they are.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, I was born in one of the most challenging cities in Jordan called Zarqa. And I still believe that I was the most fortunate. As much as Zarqa was challenged, I was one of the most fortunate children to be born in a family that comes from different, let's say, perceptions, different visions, different cultures. My father worked in the army, Jordan. He was a very, very disciplined man. And my mother was originally Palestinian, came from Al-Rama, a village in Palestine. And as much as my father was an army man, very disciplined, very strict, he always, wanted things his way. My mom was a very open-minded young woman, extremely beautiful inside, outside. She started a movement in Jordan. My mother was the founder of the first civil society movement in Zarqa. And she founded the first nursery and the first women's civil society, the first women association that really believed in the empowerment of young women of Jordan, particularly in the camps of Jordan and in Zarqa. Zarqa, as I said, was at that time almost an army city. And downtown of Zarqa was very challenged economically, socially. However, my mother believed in the human beings of Jordan, believed in Jordan. And as a Palestinian, she believed that if and only if she wanted to keep her village alive in her soul and in her heart, first thing she used to tell us, I need to love Zarqa, I need to love Jordan. You need to invite your rootedness, be grounded. So my mom believed in Jordan and believed that she is, as much as she was a proud Arab, proud Palestinian, she believed in the message of peace. And she believed that Jordan represents this message by all means. And she always thought that we need to balance between the male-female energy. And as much as she was very realistic, she respected the idea that my father was very rigid when it comes to his way of living. She understood that through flexibility, through tolerance, through empathy, through unconditional love, she would accept, she would understand the reality, yet she will never adapt to it. She will always look for better alternatives of our reality. So as I said, my mom, the first nursery where she wanted women, her voice was always inviting women to the workforce of Jordan. She believed in the urgency of upgrading the education, women education in Jordan, women training in Jordan. We're talking about maybe 50 years ago, my mom believed in the urgency of supporting small businesses of women in Jordan. At that time, talking about a nursery, she started this nursery in cooperation with the Zarqa municipality. So she always believed in the partnership between the civil society, the private sector, and the public sector. She was a woman of vision. And unfortunately, we lost her. She had a heart attack. She was very young at that time. But I believe that she is still alive. Her spirit is around us. I will share with you two of my mother's stories.
Please do. I mean, she sounds a fascinating person.
She is, and I'm going to write a book on her one day after retirement. After I had my first grandchild, my second daughter, who's a medical doctor, gave birth to her daughter. She called her Shams, sunshine. And I started a kind of a dialogue between Shams, my grandchild, and my mother. And I truly felt that my mom was there. I was sharing with my granddaughter stories about her grandmother. And let me tell you this. In Zarqa, we used to sit on the table of the kitchen. And my mom used to tell us, you could travel the world. You could go wherever you want. You could be whatever you want. But wherever you go, whatever you become, always remember this table that brought you to the world. Always remember the importance of family, the importance of unitedness, oneness. So wherever I go, whatever I do, I keep my mother's message in my heart, in my conscience, and I always remember that table. That I come from Zarqa, I come from the table of my mother's kitchen table, where while sitting in Zarqa, we used to smell the olive trees of her village, Al-Rama. And as much as she appreciated her village, she lived by the sea in Akka. And coming to Jordan, she loved the desert of Jordan. So she used to believe that through our rootedness, through our groundedness, we can invite our universality. Another story that I would share, I think, that made me the person I am. I hope my mother is not disappointed. I am sure I disappointed her in so many ways. But
I'm certain that she's very proud of you.
I hope so. But let me tell you this. I used to come back home sometimes nagging about my friends. And she would tell me, go talk to the person you see in front of you in the mirror. The person you see in front of you is accountable. It's not just about your friends. A challenge, a problem is always made by more than one person. Go hold yourself accountable. I would stop nagging. I would go and say, okay, I'm accountable. The second day, I would go talk to my friends, solve the problem, come back home, and tell my mom, well, I did it. I solved the problem. And she would tell me, go again, stand in front of the mirror and give credit to the person who solved the problem. So I would go and go back to her and tell her, I solved the problem. She would tell me, no. When you have a challenge, when you're faced with a challenge, you're accountable. But when the solution is there, look at the mirror and realize how many people around you helped you solve the problem. So no woman is an island. Be accountable, yet celebrate the people you're surrounded with. Always be thankful to the people, your friends, even your enemies, because there's no enemies. If we are truly human beings, we shouldn't have enemies. We should have disagreement. But
may I say something here? That this is not necessarily something that we can control. Of course, what you just said about accountability and also about giving credit to others for being forgiving, for being understanding and tolerant. But I have found that we cannot always control how other people think, and we shouldn't control how other people think.
It's not our job to control anybody.
Precisely. So what happens, how do you handle it when someone is not as good-willed, or perhaps people sometimes, come with their own bias, not because they mean, bad, but because the background, the history, or the pain that they had to endure in their lifetime has given them some perspectives which reflect their own story. And a story of pain sometimes involves negativity.
I always face negativity, Elizabeth, with positivity, with hope, with unconditional acceptance, with unconditional forgiveness. I definitely understand that many people, we all come with our pains. Today I was talking with my sister, and deep inside I said, wow, she has different pains than my pains. My sister, my eldest sister, she lived in the United States of America. She was raised by the same mother, my mom. But she has a different experience in life. Although she was an outstanding scholar, but the way she perceived her journey in life is completely different than my journey. So I'm very respectful of her journey. I'm very respectful of her pains. I can see that sometimes we don't see eye to eye. And if and only if I want again to respect my mother's mission in life and my mission in life, I need to be respectful of other people's pains. And sometimes pain, if we don't heal from our pains, this brings us to anger. This invites anger to our life, invites frustration. And when anger is there, then it's easy for a person to be reactive, to be sometimes either defensive or offensive. But what I definitely try to do is to always protect myself from being neither defensive nor offensive. Try to always understand, be respectful, understand that people come with different perceptions, different backgrounds, as you said, different stories. The story I shared with you now, a person from Rama today, from Palestine, from Israel nowadays, would share with you a completely different version of the story. And I do understand. I do understand if we would like to unite as human beings all over the world, as much as we're surrounded by nowadays the voice of ununitedness, the voice of division rather than the voice of oneness, unitedness, togetherness. I do understand the reality, yet I believe that at the end, goodness will prevail and sanity will be invited again. And I cannot just surrender to the reality of anger, the reality of despair, the reality of frustration, the reality of anger. I need to continue working for hope, inviting hope, be the person of positivity. Smile while people are angry, empathize with them. I wouldn't fight them because they're angry. And I think as much as this can be challenging, a colleague of mine called me. She was angry. Our schools are doing great. I'm sure you visited the schools and you know how.
And I was very impressed, and I would like us to discuss education as our next thing of this conversation. But please go ahead with this story.
She was a little bit frustrated with the family. Father, a very respectful MIT graduate. His wife is a graduate of our school. She's a very well-known doctor in Jordan. However, both of them were very frustrated with online learning. And my colleague, who's the head of the primary, thought that they were not fair with the school, not fair with the teacher of their twins. They have a beautiful. I told her, be patient. They are talking from their own perception. Their daughters come first. They don't think I don't want them to see you or hear you, Rana. What we need to do is to see them and hear them. And she said, yeah, you're right. But I thought they were, that our colleague teacher, one of the wonderful teachers in Jordan, was a little bit, she was hurt. I said, because she's a teacher and she's a good teacher and she's a passionate teacher, she will go beyond her pain. She will grow beyond it. We need to help our teacher go beyond it, but we cannot blame the family. And she said, okay, let me call them. So on the spot, my colleague transformed her frustration into a good action, into an action where she called the family, and I'm sure that she called her colleague as well. And after we finish, I will be calling my colleague and checking on everybody. So always transform an action into a good. If sometimes we fail, but we need to continue trying.
Exactly. We continue because at the end of the day, when we handle situations and the way that we interact with people is based on empathy and kindness, then there is no way that someone will not, shift into that culture. It's kind of the law of attraction. You attract someone into something which is positive, which is collaborative, which is tolerant.
Mhm.
And I would like us now to visit the role of education because you have dedicated your life's mission to education. And
Mhm.
indeed, this is perhaps the most important tool, shall I call it, for someone to have access to opportunities, to a better life, to progress and prosperity for a society, a country. How do you define education? And what has been your biggest achievement in the field of education in Jordan? I know both are very big questions, but I feel that we are going to learn a lot from you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, I can't talk about my achievements. There is a long way to go. So allow me not to talk about achievements. I will talk about the achievements of my colleagues and the achievements of the collective, the Ahliya School, on the collective level, because on the individual level, I'm not really sure if I achieved anything individually. But let me tell you how I perceive education. Education for me is a journey. It's a journey to the inner part of the self, the outer part, and the other. However, this, my own perception of education, is not an international kind of perception. Education during the 20th century kind of jailed the human beings. We kind of put our students in classrooms, gave them the same information. We wanted them to learn physics, chemistry, math in isolation. For me and for my schools, we perceived and we presented education, as I said, as a journey. We started with celebrating the human being, the individual. And by celebrating the individual, we understand the individual differences. So we accept the learner as he or she as is. And by accepting, we gave them, we offer them spaces to experiment the self, to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and go beyond their weaknesses. By understanding the self as a learner and by understanding the self, as I said, and the inner part of the self, the outer is very important because in Jordan and the Arab world in particular, we kind of defined females by the outer self, by the outer part.
If I may add something here, that people in general, all over the world, we tend to stereotype. And because
Exactly.
subconsciously, this is an easy process. And unfortunately, it's been supported and endorsed by media a lot.
Exactly. And we consciously, we were aware in our schools because we perceived ourselves as a center of empowerment rather than just schools. We consciously went beyond the outer. We wanted the learner, particularly women, females, to go beyond the outer, to understanding the inner part, the outer part, and the other by bridging with the other, not due to their color or beauty, outside beauty. It's by truly building their own vision of the self. And I think we in our schools succeeded in unfolding our school. I think we were pioneers in teaching. We don't worry, we offer academic rigor. Rigor is there because people are scared when you talk about this part of education. Rigor is there. We offer the IB program. It's there. However, we go beyond the rigor. We go into truly inviting the human being into the scene by involving the learner. I am a learner in my school. My colleagues are learners. Every single individual in the school is a learner, not just the students. We're a lifelong learning organization. We believe that we're in the heart, every single student at the Ahliya and the Mutran perceive himself, herself as in the heart of their school. Their school is in the heart of Jabal Amman, as you know. Jabal Amman is in the heart of Amman. Amman is in the heart of Jordan. Jordan is in the heart of the Arab world, the Middle East, and the Arab world is in the heart of the whole world. So they're in the heart of their school, they represent the heart. However, they go beyond their schools into inviting their universality. So education for us is bringing in the goods in our human being, is about our shared humanity. And due to that, when we teach history, for example, we're not about teaching facts, and history for us is about bringing out humane historians to the world. And we believe that we need to journey to the world from the perspective of others. I have to understand your perspective. I need to understand the South African perspective, the Westernized perspective. So in a way or another, our schools are very much Westernized schools by being extremely rational. However, we go beyond just being Westernized school and rational into being extremely Easternized. We live in the heart of the East. So we're very spiritual. We connect with the environment. We connect with the desert of Jordan. We connect with the sea. We connect with the environment by all means. We connect with the universe. That said, being rational, spiritual, we go beyond that into inviting the ethical dimension. It's very essential to invite the ethical dimension. So love comes first, respect, empathy, passion. We enjoy art. Liberal arts are very essential in our schools. We enjoy singing, we enjoy dancing, we listen to music from all over the world. As much as we enjoy listening to Fairuz and the Arabic music and Kulthum, we enjoy listening to the Latin American music, to South African music, if you come attend any recital in our school, you listen to songs and pieces of music from all over the world. So we're an ethical organization, and at a bigger level, we invite the integral approaches to education. We believe in the well-being of the human being. We need people to be happy, stable, and accepting their reality, and in daily search for better realities of their reality.
And nurture their harmony from within.
Exactly. I love this word. I wanted to use the word harmony at the end, but I can't. Now you said
it. I wanted to ask you, and I'm mindful of our time, but how have you adapted, and how has the school adapted to this reality, the COVID-19 reality? Because now these are new circumstances which are changing, and they are actually transforming the way that we work, communicate, attend school. That is my final question before I ask you about your vision for the world.
It's been very challenging, Elizabeth, extremely challenging. We tried as much as we could, we continue trying to keep the humane dimension into our educational. Although we built an outstanding online platforms, we tried to keep the humane dimension into it. Every single teacher works, in addition to being in academia, she works as a counselor. We counsel each other, we support each other, we counsel the parents at home, the parents counsel us. We kind of built, in every catastrophe, there is a new life. COVID, I believe, brought us a completely different dimension. And we need to open our hearts and minds to it and try to reflect upon it, so we invite the better way to education in the future. There is an opportunity here to transforming education, to understanding that teachers are not spoon feeders. Schools are not jails anymore. We need to open up our schools to community. Schools are communal centers. Schools are not just classrooms and teachers spoon feeding. Schools are people living together in harmony. Schools can be connected. I can visit students all over the world, in Jerusalem or in Athens or in London or wherever. My students, my grandchildren can be the brothers and sisters of students from Chile. We can do that. So there's an opportunity And I'm hoping that we will get over the COVID-19 and we will come back again, being able to reflect. And for us, we need to understand that schools are not about furniture, schools are not about huge campuses. We need to fight the idea of consumerism when it comes to schools. Schools are about human beings. Schools are relational centers. Schools are about our shared humanity, about bringing out critical, productive, humane, kind, positive. Schools are energy centers. You don't have to have a campus to present your school. You have to have so many campus that would open up opportunities for people to learn, to connect, to love, to share, and to be kind to each other.
We usually ask for advice and wisdom from people who are established professionals. But I have found, and I'm sure that you will share that very often you hear amazing stories and amazing wisdom from the younger generation. Sometimes from someone who's, 16 or 17 or even younger. Do you remember, can you think of any quote of something that's really impressed you? It came out of the lips of a young person and it really impressed you.
One of my students, I was talking to a group of students and I said, well, the sky is the limit. And she said, excuse me, Mrs. Najjar, the sky is not anymore the limit. So for me, I was always surrounded by philosophers. My students are thinkers and philosophers, and they always argue with me. As you know, our school is a dialogue center. We argue, we challenge. Schooling for us is about raising questions. It's not about finding answers. So once I was talking, we had a political discussion, and one of my guests were talking about tolerance, and one of our students stood up, and she said, in this school, we don't believe in tolerance. So I was literally embarrassed because in this place, we don't believe in tolerance. And we were kind of waiting for her to continue. And she said, this school is about empathy. Tolerance is about tolerating the other. But I believe that the Ahliya and Mutran are about empathy. What we need to do. And she kindly asked the visitor, who's a lecturer, he was visiting us from one of the top Ivy League schools in the world. She said, sir, I ask you kindly to revisit the idea of tolerance. It is a very westernized idea. I need you to visit the East. And I come from the heart of the East. And spiritually, we believe in empathy. We believe in dialogue. And I don't think that tolerance will solve our problems. Tolerance will never. It will always put us in a place we would not fight. But what we need to do is to connect, not just be on the sides. We need to come together, sit at a table and talk. So I was kind of extremely impressed. I will never forget that. The other day, my youngest daughter, who is a graduate of the Ahliya school, she got her BSc in mechanical engineering from Boston University, and I'm very proud of her. She's a young Jordanian entrepreneur. She made it a point to come back to Jordan and work in Jordan. She said, Mom, we had a discussion. It was a kind of an intellectual discussion. We were talking about secular societies. And I asked her to come and, I wanted to introduce her to my friends. And it's been a while since we had friends at home. So she was listening. And when we asked her, what do you think? She said, I'm truly disappointed. And I said, why, Mom? She said, because you cannot discuss secular societies from the westernized perspective. She said, I believe in secular societies, but there is a context. It's about the time that we do understand our context, the Jordanian context, the Islamic context. She wanted us to revisit And she said, unless we truly learn from our own values, be able to invite, to unlearn. She said, it's not just about critical thinking and opening up. It's about unlearning. And she asked me, she said, Mom, you need to unlearn, relearn. And we cannot do that unless we truly reflect individually and collectively. So I would love you to come to Jordan, Elizabeth. I would love you to come to our house, meet my youngest daughter, meet some of our graduates, males or females, and they always surprise me with the new ideas. I continue to learn from them. They continue to inspire me, and I am on the edge of retirement nowadays, but I would love always to be surrounded by their energy and their vision of hope. And there are so many different stories to share with you, but time is limited. And
it will be, let me say that it will be my pleasure and an honor to visit you. And I look forward to the days that we will be able to travel again. And I'm sure that with my sister Dima, Habibti Dima, we can visit you together. My final question is about your vision for the world and the message that you would like to communicate to the younger generations. You have these two grandchildren. I can see a mini CEO behind you.
Yes.
What would you say to them? I mean, they're only months old, but what would you say to them?
I tell them I love them dearly. I wish I could tell their mothers how much I love them. I wish I could unconditionally accept their mothers the way I do now. And I wish their schools would accept them unconditionally. I believe that my grandchildren are my partners in shaping our future. We are partners, and they will shape a better future of the world. I would like to apologize to them because I tried, but I did not really achieve my mother's dream. My mother always wanted to invite our shared humanity. She wanted peace. She was a wonderful voice of peace and oneness of the world. She believed in unitedness while celebrating diversity. Maybe nowadays we're surrounded by the voices of despair and negativity and pain, and yet the better is on the way. Goodness will always prevail. I believe that education is about hope. I hope that all schools, that my grandchildren's school will be centers of hope, will be communal centers, will be centers of good energy, will be centers of music, would be about connecting the learner with himself, with the universe. And I believe that no matter what, my grandchildren will be happy, healthy, kind, good human beings. They will be good citizens of the world. They would be good citizens of Jordan. They would be good citizens of wherever they choose to live. They will be good citizens of the world. They will represent the voice of hope, the voice of love, the voice of empathy, respect, and passion. And I still believe there's a long way to go for all of us, but yet the better is on the way.
And what is the message for young girls in order to help them battle stereotyping that we mentioned before?
Of course, for the young woman of Jordan, a young woman of the world, believe in yourself. We, women of the world, will be able to invite peace back to the world. We need to unite. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in our potential. We need to connect. We need to support each other. We represent the hope of peace, the hope of our shared humanity, the hope of our universe, the hope of environment. We are the future solvers of the world challenges. We will be able to, again, invite our shared humanity. Harmony is our responsibility. We need to continue supporting each other, believing in each other. And as much as I believe in the urgency of having balance between male-female energy, yet we need to support our female energy because it will be, without really supporting the female energy to spread, because we're emotionally intelligent, if I may say that. We're socially more intelligent than men, yet we need them, they need us, and we need to unite together to invite our universality. And I think it's coming.
Senator Haifa Najjar, I would like to thank you for this exceptional conversation and the honor to be part of this series.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm honored to be with you. Hopefully, I'll see you soon in Jordan.
Thank you for listening to the Athena 40 podcast, Conversations with Women from the MENA region, brought to you in partnership with NAMA Women Advancement Establishment. If you want to get in touch with us, please email us on info@athena40.org. That is info@athena40.org. For NAMA's work, please visit www.namawomen.ae. Keep well, stay inspired and motivated.